Part 22. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 220. Luan Xiaoxiang is a real child. When Zhao Yueying said that she was bothering her, she thought that he really felt that she was bothering her. She immediately avoided Zhao Yueying's hand and said, "Auntie, what are you talking about with me? From Chuxia, Miss Meiying, she is also my cousin, and it is right to take care of her. Sister Mai Feng, get up quickly, drink the ginger soup while it's hot, cover the quilt with sweat after drinking, it will be fine in a while. Every time I catch a cold, my mother treats me like this." Seeing Wang Maifeng for a long time before getting up, Luan Xiaoxiang kindly reminded, "Auntie, please help Sister Maifeng up." The quilt bag visibly shivered. "Who is sick?" Out of politeness, Zhou Mikang asked casually. "It's Maifeng from your aunt's house, she's caught a little cold." Mrs. Zhao said as she walked out, "Xiaozhou, don't worry about it, just go downstairs with Grandma." "Grandma, wait a moment, I'll call the doctor first." While speaking, Zhou Mikang had already walked to the bedside, and was about to dial when he picked up the phone. No, Zhao Yueying grabbed Zhou Mikang's sleeve anxiously. "Xiaozhou, I really don't need it, Maifeng is freezing, drink some ginger soup and sleep, and she will be fine." In fact, the child, Luan Xiaoxiang, nodded and reminded Zhao Yueying again, "Auntie, quickly help Sister Maifeng up, the ginger soup won't work when it's cold. Xiaoxian, come and help, the sick person is heavy." Wang Maifeng, who was huddled in the quilt, was almost smoked by Luan Xiaoxiang. She had no choice but to tightly grab the corners of the quilt with both hands to wrap herself up. Chu Xia sighed secretly. She didn't feel sorry for Wang Maifeng, but for my aunt's sake, I can't let her lose face in front of Zhou Mikang. Although my aunt doesn't like Wang Maifeng's character. But after all, they are mother and daughter, if they find out afterwards that they know everything. He also intentionally made Wang Maifeng lose face in front of Zhou Mikang, so he probably won't have any contact with her again in the future. She doesn't know about the deity, but since she came to this era, the aunt has treated her really well. Every time she goes to Grandma's house, she will bring her some food along the way and ask Grandma to keep it. Hand it over to her when she's gone. Also, I heard from Zhao Yulan that since she was born, well, it should be said that this body was born, and the new clothes for the new year every year were prepared by her aunt. Since he has occupied the body of the deity, of course he must accept this love for the deity. Besides, if a suspicion arises because of this incident, Zhao Yulan may not say anything about her, but in her heart, being appointed is uncomfortable. In a flash of thought, Luo Xiaoxian was already at the bedside. Chu Xia hurriedly stepped forward and pushed Zhou Mikang out. "You can go downstairs with Grandma first, I am here. If the situation is not good, I will let you go to the doctor." "Okay." Zhou Mikang didn't hesitate, and nodded happily. Helped Mrs. Zhao downstairs. Before going downstairs, the old lady turned her head and gave Chu Xia an approving look. No matter how wrong Wang Maifeng is, after all, it is her own family, so saving face for her mother's family in front of her in-laws is actually saving face for herself. This is the old lady's idea. Hoo. Turning around in early summer, she saw Wang Maifeng sitting on the bed like a drowned rat, breathing out with her mouth open. Luan Xiaoxiang was completely stunned. She stared at Wang Maifeng without blinking, with an incredulous expression on her face. As for the bowl of ginger soup, Zhao Yueying had already got it at some point. As for Luo Xiaoxian, she couldn't bear it. She never expected that Wang Maifeng would become like this in just such a short time. "Come on, drink it." Zhao Yueying always pretended to be the last, and raised the bowl to her daughter. "What to drink?" Wang Maifeng glared at Luan Xiaoxiang, who was still in a daze, got out of bed, put on her shoes, and walked outside. A black shadow appeared, and she reflexively wanted to go around. "You are." "Ah." The next second, Wang Meifeng stood at the door covering her face, screaming again. Zhou Mikang looked at her in surprise, then turned his eyes to his little wife, innocently holding the small medicine bottle in Yang Yang's hand. "I'll come up to deliver the medicine." He really didn't mean it, he just felt that no matter what, Wang Meifeng was his wife's natal family, and he should do his part. "Give it to me." Chu Xia stepped forward to take the medicine, and smiled at him. "Cousin is sweating all over, and I'm a little embarrassed, you go down." And Zhou Mikang responded, and quickly turned and left. "Auntie, here you are." Chu Xia stuffed the medicine into Auntie's hand, stepped forward and pulled Luo Xiaoxiang and Luan Xiaoxiang up and went downstairs. During lunch, Wang Meifeng didn't come down. Zhao Yuiying explained to everyone that she had a cold, lost her appetite, and was sweating under the blanket. Sweat. Not only Chu Xia, Luo Xiaoxiang, Luan Xiaoxiang, but even Zhou Mikang, who has always been extremely expressionless, couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth. Zhao Yulan and the others didn't know the actual situation, they only thought that Wang Meifeng really had a fever, asked a few questions worriedly, and only started to eat in peace of mind when Zhao Yuiying repeatedly assured that there was no major problem. Halfway through the meal, a handsome woman in military uniform walked in with a medicine box on her back. Seeing her, Mr. Zhou greeted her with a smile. "Xiao Song, you came here very quickly." "Grandpa Zhou, you call, can I hurry up?" The female soldier known as Xiao Song came to Mr. Zhou with a smile on her face, nodded politely to the crowd, and then looked back at Zhou. The old man said, "Grandpa, tell me where the patient is, and I'll go up and see for myself." Mr. Zhou looked at Zhao Yuiying with a stiff face. "Xiao Zhao, take Xiao Song up to have a look. Don't think that Xiao Song is young, but his medical skills are not bad. All the old men and women in our area are pointing at her." "Grandpa, you can just praise me. I'm just suffering from some minor ailments," Xiao Song said as he took the initiative to walk to Zhao Yuiying's side. "Auntie, I'm sorry." "No trouble, no trouble." At this time, Zhao Yuiying couldn't say no, she could only walk upstairs mechanically, and her heart was in a mess. At that time, she persuaded her daughter upstairs for a long time, and the result was conceivable. In fact, when did her daughter hear her words? The daughter was full of resentment towards Chu Xia. If she pretended to be sick and was exposed, said something outrageous in front of outsiders, and lost Chu Xia's face, then how could she treat her younger sister? Seeing that something was wrong with Zhao Yuiying, Zhao Yulan pulled up to follow. Li Aiwan hesitated for a moment, then stood up too. Seeing this, Chu Xia quickly grabbed her and whispered, "Auntie, sit down, I'll go up and have a look." After all, Grandma Chen, Aunt Fat, and Lin Baojuan are not relatives of the Zhao family. If the Zhao family withdraws so abruptly, should they follow or not? Wang Meifeng is just a junior, the key point is that she is pretending to be sick, and letting Grandma Chen and others go up to see her is really a big joke. Li Aiwan's hesitation was actually because of this. Hearing what Chu Xia said, she immediately sat back. This is Chu Xia's home, so of course it is the most suitable for Chu Xia to go there. Wang Meifeng was really not sick at first, but after being tossed and tossed under the quilt by herself, coupled with the anger in her heart, she really felt uncomfortable all over at the moment. She was lying on the bed tossing and turning, not knowing how to lie down. When she heard the door open, she thought it was her mother, Zhao Yuiying, who was so angry that she began to scold without turning her head. "It's time to finish eating? Haha, you are really my mother. I feel uncomfortable here, but you just went to eat? By the way, mother is very envious of my aunt, but unfortunately, you don't have that life." Zhao Yuiying hastily ran forward and turned her around so that she could see Dr. Song and Zhao Yulan who had entered the door, and said in her mouth, "I know you are sick and feel uncomfortable, and Qi Niang won't be with you. Hey, it's so big. You are still as ignorant as a child, Grandpa Joe found a doctor for you, get up quickly and let Dr. Song show you. The moment she saw Dr. Song and Zhao Yulan, Wang Meifeng's mind was confused. Now that her mother said so, how could she not take advantage of the slope to get off the donkey? Yulan smiled, "Auntie." Then she looked at Dr. Song, "Doctor, I just feel weak all over and irritable." "Take your temperature." Dr. Song smiled and handed her the thermometer, and observed her complexion. "Have you been constipated for the past 2 days?" "Yeah." Wang Meifeng nodded, "I always feel bloated in my stomach, very uncomfortable. I'm too angry." When Chu Xia just came in, the corners of his mouth unconsciously twitched, maybe he was too jealous. In front of outsiders, Wang Meifeng is still very reliable. She is the kind of girl who is very intolerant and narrow-minded towards her family, but pays great attention to her image in front of outsiders. Therefore, next, Zhao Yuing, Zhao Yulan, Li Aiwan, etc. are not worried. Situation happens. Or she was sweating too much and was blown. Wang Meifeng did have a fever, and her body temperature was not low. Dr. Song prescribed medicine, gave her a buttock injection, and told her to eat more light food for the next 2 days. Tired, say goodbye and leave. Chu Xia smiled at her, "I'll see you off. You don't need to be so polite. I know Grandpa Joe very well. When I was young, I used to come to Grandpa Joe's house for dinner." Dr. Song smiled at Chu Xia, "Are you the third sister-in-law?" Chu Xia was still a little uncomfortable with this title, so she smiled embarrassedly, "Yes." "Congratulations." Dr. Song stretched out his hand in a friendly manner, "My grandparents attended your wedding, and when they got back, they praised the third sister-in-law, saying that the third brother was waiting and waiting for the best daughter-in-law." "Thanks. Actually, I've known you for a long time." Dr. Song winked at her playfully, "My name is Song Yankai." Chu Xia sized her up and asked uncertainly, "Are you Director Song's niece?" "Yes, my aunt said that you are a rare genius. If you were a medical student like me, you would definitely have thrown me to the Himalayas." When Song Yankai spoke, her voice was soft and she smiled slightly, giving off a very pleasant feeling. Feeling comfortable and feeling her kindness, Chu Xia also smiled sincerely, "Knowing that Director Song praised me so much, I am finally relieved. To be honest, I have always been worried that one day she will dump me and not take me with you." Woolen cloth. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 221. My aunt finally got such a talented apprentice like you, how could she be willing to let go? Song Yankai covered her mouth and chuckled, "It should be because she is worried that you will dump her someday." Chu Xia smiled with big eyes, "If one day you find out that the teacher is worried about this, please tell her for me. As long as she doesn't dump me, I will definitely not dump her." Sister-in-law 3, I like your character. Song Yankai's originally shallow smile suddenly warmed up, "I was going to attend your wedding, but it happened that a grandfather was in poor health that day, so I couldn't leave, so I didn't go. Chang, as a punishment, I will be the host and invite the third sister-in-law and the third brother to accompany me another day. How about it?" Chu Xia nodded cheerfully, "I've grown up so much, I've only been an accompanying guest, not a guest of honor yet. Thank you, Dr. Song, I won't be disrespectful." Seeing the two of them talking and laughing all the way down, Mr. Zhou, who originally wanted to ask about Wang Meifeng's condition, couldn't help joking, "Xiao Song, you don't want to steal your aunt's student, do you?" "Grandpa Zhou, look at what you said, I dare not rob my aunt if I fight with anyone, and..." Song Yankai nodded her chin to Zhou Mikang's position, "If I really do that, I think the third brother can beat him, kill me. He he." Mr. Zhou shook his head with a smile, and changed the subject, "Is Xiao Wang's illness all right?" "I just caught a cold and had a little fever. I gave an injection and prescribed some medicine. I think I'll be fine tomorrow." I've explained all the details talking about work, Song Yankai, the look on her face immediately became serious. She said so in detail to let everyone else know about Wang Meifeng's condition. Hear her say that. Luan Xiaoxiang teased Luo Xiaoxiang, and whispered in her ear, "It seems we have wronged her. She can't pretend to have a fever, right?" Luo Xiaoxiang curled her lips, You are so naive. She did it on her own, she sweated all over, and then ran out. Do you think she will catch a cold?" Luan Xiaoxiang scratched her head in doubt, pondered for a while, then nodded, "Well, it's possible. It's not possible, it's absolute. Don't think of her so badly, you can't tell. She really had a cold before. Didn't you hear from the doctor that you got a cold from the heat and the cold? That's right, cover that sweat, go out and see the wind, how can you not catch a cold? By the way, it's so hot, why does she cover herself under the quilt?" In fact, the child Luan Xiaoxiang was completely stunned, and then forgot. "Lower your voice." When he found that the eyes of the people at the table were all focused on her, he grabbed Luo Xiaoxiang's arm in a panic. "I don't know what to do." Although she didn't quite understand why Wang Meifeng did that, she felt it. This matter shouldn't be revealed to everyone, but now she accidentally said it. Then, she quietly glanced at Mrs. Zhao, and nodded to her with a smile on her face. The panic in my heart was finally less. At this time, it happened that Chu Xia sent Song Yankai back. The old lady Zhao ordered, "Chu Xia, go and call your mother and your aunt down for dinner." "Yes," Chu Xia responded and walked upstairs. "I'm full, I'll accompany Chu Xia." Luo Xiaoxiang gave Luan Xiaoxiang a hand when he left. "I'm full too." After the figures of Chu Xia and Luo Xiaoxiang disappeared, Luan Xiaoxiang realized belatedly, got up and chased after them. Lin Baojuan stroked her forehead with a headache. She didn't feel it before, but now she realizes that compared with Chu Xia and Xiao Qian, her daughter is really frighteningly foolish. Chu Xia went upstairs to the room where Auntie and Wang Meifeng lived, and saw Auntie sitting opposite her old mother Zhao Yulan. Her eyes were red, obviously she had cried. Wang Meifeng lay with her back to the two of them, motionless. "Auntie, mother, let's go down to eat," Chu Xia said. "Yulan, go down quickly, we can't be too rude." Zhao Yuing pushed Zhao Yulan. "Having such a daughter, I really feel ashamed to go down. Little sister, if you think of me as a big sister, go down quickly." Chu Xia stepped forward and looked at Zhao Yuing seriously. "Auntie, I will do whatever you ask me to do." "Chu Xia." Zhao Yuing's tears, which had stopped, fell again. Wang Meifeng, who was lying down, sat up suddenly, and called anxiously, "Mother." Zhao Yuing turned her head to look at her daughter, with sadness, disappointment, heartache, and guilt. "Chu Xia, with your words, my aunt has not loved you in vain all these years." After a while, Zhao Yuing stepped forward to hug Chu Xia. "You can do whatever my aunt tells you, right?" "Yes," Chu Xia nodded firmly. Wang Meifeng looked at Zhao Yuing with sparkling eyes. "Mother, I promise, I will definitely not lose face to the Zhao family or Chu Xia. I will be filial to my mother for the rest of my life." Zhao Yulan sighed slightly. "You mean, if your mother doesn't help you, you won't be filial to your mother?" "No, no, no matter what, I will be filial to my mother. I just hope that my mother can help me achieve my wish. I just don't want the Chiang family to look down on our family. I just want to live a good life." Wang Meifeng blushed anxiously. "Mother, I am your daughter. Meifeng, you have been smart since you were a child. Other children only know how to play wild when they are 5 or 6 years old, but you know how to help mother light a fire." At that time, mother was very happy, thinking that you are really mother's caring little padded jacket. After you go to school, you study well, hold parent-teacher meetings, and all mother hears is praise. Others say that girls go to school for nothing, and sooner or later they belong to others, but mother doesn't think so. Girlfriend, son, and mother are all waiting. After the school was closed, you went to work in the team, and you were outstanding. People in the village mentioned it, and they all envied that your mother raised a good girl. Mother has always been very content with raising a girl like you, but, being praised all the time, you really feel that you are great, and you become despised of father and mother, and also look down on any family whose life is worse than ours. When mother realizes that she wants to control you, your temper has already formed, and mother can't control you at all. Mother always comforts herself, one day, you will be sensible, even if you have always had such a temper, it's okay, as long as you live well, it doesn't matter if you kiss your family or not. But mother never thought that you have changed to the point where you don't have to lose face in order to live the life you want. Have you ever thought about going to your brother-in-law in front of so many people? What do you let the Joe family think? How do you let Chusia be viewed by the Joe family? Since coming here, mother has seen your thoughts, but mother has always felt that you are at most begging for Chuxia. My Feng, you really have made mother no longer know you. Regardless of whether you hate your mother or never recognize your mother's decision is that Chuxia will not help you, nor will you. Zhao Yueying looked at Chuxia after finishing speaking. Xia, you understand what auntie said, right? Understood. Chuxia hugged Zhao Yueying. I know how good my aunt is to me. I will be filial to my aunt. I am serious. My aunt must believe me. Letter, anti-letter. Zhao Yueying let go of Chuxia and looked at Zhao Yulan. Little sister, let's go downstairs, we can't be too rude. Big sister. Zhao Yulan glanced at Wang Meifeng, who was sitting on the bed and staring at Zhao Yueying angrily and indifferently. Of course, she understands how the elder sister feels in her heart now. I've already made up my mind. Also, I'll explain this matter to the Zhou family myself. It's impossible for the Zhou family not to feel that the trouble has reached this point. If they don't say it's to save face for us, if we don't say it ourselves, it's a liar. Mother, Wang Meifeng yelled in a mournful voice, staring at Zhao Yueying firmly, if you do this, you are not my mother. If you think of me as your mother, you shouldn't do such things that don't save the Zhao family's face. I am the daughter of the Zhao family, and I can't let my daughter disgrace the Zhao family like this. After Zhao Yueying finished speaking, her head shook. He went downstairs without returning. Seeing this, Zhao Yulan had no choice but to chase after her. She is very clear about the temperament of her eldest sister. Generally speaking, the eldest sister is very soft and easy to talk, but when she really gets angry, no one can change her mind. Obviously, what Wang Meifeng did this time really angered the elder sister, but if you think about it carefully, if you have a sore and pus, if you keep covering it, it will only get worse and worse. Enduring the pain to squeeze out the pus, only then will the day be restored to the original state. I hope there will be that day. Wang Meifeng sat on the bed with a pale face, with a sense of defeat all over her body. She was like this, which made Chuxia, who originally wanted to leave, not dare to leave. Luo Xiaoxiang and Luan Xiaoxiang, who had been silent since entering the room, saw Chuxia sitting on the sofa, and sat next to Chuxia from left to right. With the three people sitting there staring straight at her, no matter what Ren Wang Meifeng did, it was impossible not to feel it. Her face gradually turned bloody, and then, she suddenly looked at Chuxia and smiled. Are you afraid that I will commit suicide? No, Chuxia hurriedly shook her head. She was not fooled. Whether there is or not, I will tell you very clearly that committing suicide just because of this kind of nonsense is not something I, Wang Meifeng, would do at all. Isn't it better to marry than you? What's the big deal? Let's see now, 10 years later, 20 years later, will you still live better than me? With your ability, do you want to gain a foothold in the Zhou family? It's just a dream. However, it is very easy for me to gain a firm foothold in Jiang's family with my ability. What is a woman's happiness? That is, the man she married protects her, and the man's family treats her as a treasure, and they will never be angry with her husband's family for the rest of their lives. Lin Chuxia, do you dare to bet with me that 10 years from now, you will definitely not live as well as I do? What is Xiaoqiang who can't be beaten to death? One moment, it really seemed like he couldn't survive, but the next moment, he set off with high spirits. Regardless of Wang Meifeng's other aspects, just this spirit really convinced Chu Xia. She nodded immediately. Okay, I bet you. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 222. No lottery is not a bet. If you lose, you must unconditionally promise a child of the right age to the winner, regardless of whether it is a boy or a girl. Chu Xia stared at Wang Meifeng amusedly. This was probably the most no lower limit sentence she had heard since she came to this era. Luan Xiaoxiang blinked her eyes in confusion and said, Sister Meifeng, I don't quite understand what you mean by that. Luo Xiaoxian cut, what she means is that if the loser has a son who is about the same age as the opponent's daughter, he will give it to the winner to be his son-in-law. If he has a daughter and the age of the opponent's son, he will marry him be the daughter-in-law of the one who wins. Oh. Luan Xiaoxiang nodded, still confused. What if they all have sons or daughters, or there is no one of the same age at all? Give it to the other party as a godson and daughter, and you should honor your godfather and mother just like you would honor your own parents, Luo Xiaoxiang said and looked at Wang Meifeng. Is my explanation the same as yours? Yes, Wang Meifeng nodded, that's what you said. Then, the real child, Luan Xiaoxiang, rubbed his head, with a troubled expression on his face. Whether Chu Xia loses or wins, don't they all suffer the same? He. Luo Xiaoxiang just smiled and said nothing. Chu Xia's in-laws family has a better life than your in-laws. No matter whether she loses or wins, you are the one who takes advantage of her. It's not fair. Luan Xiaoxiang truthfully expressed her views on this matter to Wang Meifeng. What's so unfair? 20 years later, who dares to say that her family's conditions must be better than mine? To know if she won. You can marry my daughter or my son without spending a penny, if she loses. You can also marry your son and daughter to my family without spending a penny, and it counts. She simply earned it. Luan Xiaoxiang was not taken into the ditch, so she questioned, then if you win, you can marry her daughter or son without spending a penny. If you lose, you can also marry her for a penny. Marrying my son and daughter into her family without spending money, how can this be said to be Chu Xia's money? That's why I say it's fair. Wang Meifeng spread her hands and looked at Chu Xia. You don't have to worry about your children's marriage in the future, and I don't have to worry about my children's marriage. We can still get closer. In fact, this bet is a good thing that kills multiple birds with one stone, right? Chu Xia smiled. It seems that in your eyes, I am really a fool. Wang Meifeng also smiled. No. I think this is a fair bet. There is no distinction between high and low working people. You can't look down on the strong family just because the Zhou family is well off. As I said, it is not certain who will be better off 20 years from now. You can't tell, but you will make a lot of money by then. Chu Xia is not good at suppressing people with the principles of this era. I didn't bother to argue with her, so I just shook my head and refused. This is a lottery. I don't agree. You dare not bet with me. Chu Xia smiled lightly. It's useless to be aggressive, I'll accept the bet. However, you'd better avoid this kind of calculation that you're trying to get cheap by cornering the corner. Bet always pays off. Since you don't accept what I say, then you can say something, but... Wang Meifeng stared at Chu Xia seriously. I repeat, I am betting on who will have a happier marriage 10 years from now, not whose husband is more powerful. Chu Xia curled her lips. I think, You should also delineate the content of happiness, so as not to be fooled when you have time. The content of happiness is that the husband whose husband respects, loves and obeys his wife more will win. How to judge? If your husband obviously doesn't respect, love and obey you, why do you insist on distorting the facts? This is not for you and me to judge, it is for Luo Xiaoxiang and Luan Xiaoxiang to judge. They are all your friends. You don't think it's unfair to let them be the referee? Chu Xia scrutinized Wang Meifeng. She really wanted to redefine this cousin. Taking such a big turn, it sounds like she is trying to take advantage of her in a whimsical way, but in fact, she is taking the road of saving the country with a curve. She already knew that she would not transfer her relationship to City A, so staying in Hunky Commune and marrying Jiang's family was the best choice. However, he was not willing to become a stranger to her because of this incident, and lose the honor of Zhou's family from now on, so he thought of this way and came to such a bet. No matter what their relationship is, as long as she agrees to the 10-year agreement, then she will be in contact with Wang Meifeng. At the same time, she sees the closeness between herself and Luo Xiaoxiang and Luan Xiaoxiang, so she pulls them into the battle circle. In this way, when not in contact with her, he can also contact Luo Xiaoxiang and Luan Xiaoxiang openly. The straightforward explanation is that she has at least 10 years to repair the relationship between the two through various channels. As long as the relationship with her is not broken, the Jiang family will look up to Wang Meifeng. Then, Wang Meifeng is not regarded as a high climber if she marries into the Jiang family. There is another benefit: as long as the relationship with her is good, she won't be in her light, and her children won't be in her light. In such a short period of time, to be able to think through these things and make a bet with her in such a way, this cousin is really not as simple as it seems on the surface. The sadness and despair just now, maybe it was just an act, right? If it weren't for the way she looked, when she was about to make a bet with her, maybe she wouldn't have accepted her fault at all. If she wasn't so jealous and snobbish, and worked hard, her future would be sure. I admit now that I am really a fool. Chu Xia stared at Wang Meifeng seriously. However, since I have promised you, I will not go back on my word, but I must declare that the premise of this bet is that you can't do things that I'm sorry for. I'm sorry for the Zhao family. Wang Meifeng nodded. Okay, you haven't said the lottery yet. I lost. Your children, you can choose one of them and I will help arrange the job. If you lose, you must sincerely apologize to your aunt, and be filial to her. Wang Meifeng's expression froze. She never thought that Chu Xia would propose such a lottery. This means that no matter whether Chu Xia loses or wins, she will not get any real benefits, and no matter whether she loses or wins, she will not lose. What? Apologizing to her mother was the right thing to do. No matter how strong her character was, she wouldn't really feel that it was right to shout at her mother like that. I want to ask you something, and I hope you can answer me truthfully. Chu Xia nodded and motioned for her to say. At that time, if my mother asked you to help me, would you really help me? Yes. Why? Auntie is kind to my mother and me. It's normal to have revenge for revenge and kindness for kindness. Actually, you already know that my mother can't ask you to help me. Dare you say, didn't you think of this? I don't deny it. With my aunt's character, I can be 90% sure that she won't let me get into trouble, but 10% is also a probability. It seems that I have always underestimated you. Wang Meifeng stared at Chu Xia seriously. Who exactly does your character look like? You are so different from before, you. She frowned and stared at Chu Xia. Compared with before, you seem to be a completely different person. If not for your appearance, I would even think that you have been replaced by someone. Chu Xia's heart skipped a beat, but the expression on his face remained unchanged. Thank you for the compliment. Staring at Chu Xia for a while, Wang Meifeng got up and went to bed, and bowed to Chu Xia. I sincerely apologize to you. I shouldn't go to find my brother-in-law on my own, Knowing that my actions may make the Joe family think about you, I did it anyway, sorry. Chusia couldn't help but sighed. If you use your thoughts in the right place, you will be fine in the future. If I don't try it, I will regret it for the rest of my life. Wang Meifeng smiled. Now that I am like this, I can accept the result calmly, and I have also decided to study hard this year, and if I have the opportunity next year, I will also take the university entrance exam. Chuxia, I will definitely not be worse than you. Today, the embarrassment you gave me, maybe one day, I will repay it in full. I can tell you in advance that this kind of feeling is not good. You, do it well. Get ready. Luo Xiaoxian curled her lips and replied instead of Chuxia, I guess you won't have this chance. Sister, I'll give you a word too. If you plant melons, you will reap melons, and if you sow beans, you will reap beans. After Chuxia finished speaking, she got up, and tugged at Luan Xiaoxiang, who was sitting there with a dazed expression. Come on, let's go out and let her tidy up. Chuxia, are you saying that she did that on purpose? After leaving the door, Luo Xiaoxian looked at Chuxia and asked in disbelief. Of course the embarrassment was not intentional, but it was her intention to try every means to stay. She is not only ruthless to others, but also ruthless to herself. She obviously doesn't want to give herself a chance to regret it. I don't quite understand. Luan Xiaoxiang looked confused. I've been listening to you for a long time, why do you become more and more confused? What do you mean? Xiaoxiang, you just need to understand a little bit. If she contacts you in the future, she must have a purpose. Don't be foolish enough to believe her, let her sell it and count the money for her. Am I that stupid? Luan Xiaoxiang pursed her mouth in dissatisfaction. She's 2 months older than you, and she doesn't even call you sister, and looks down on her. Chuxia is for your own good. Luo Xiaoxian put her arms around Luan Xiaoxiang's shoulders, and said amusedly, I used to think that I was too straightforward and my heart was too little. Compared with you, I suddenly felt that I really have a lot of heart. Don't you still say I'm stupid? Luan Xiaoxiang's face collapsed. I knew that you all looked down on me as a mud leg, but what can I do? I'm not qualified to be a soldier, and I'm not qualified to go to university. Apart from being a mud leg son, what else can I do? P.S. Those of you who are short of books, you can read Nguyen's completed novel and Unbelievably Fat. Click on the author's information, there are links. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nguyen. Chapter 223. Regarding Luan Xiaoxiang's development, Chuxia hadn't thought about it, not to mention anything else. Based on her sister-in-law's maintenance and help for their family over the years, she must do her best to help her sister-in-law's family. What is the most important thing to my sister-in-law? Of course it is the future of Luan Dajiang and Luan Xiaoxiang, but at present, she is really unable to help Luan Xiaoxiang and Luan Dajiang. The two brothers and sisters have been at the bottom of the class since they were in primary school. According to my sister-in-law, the two worked hard on homework after school, but when it came time to take the exam, they were always at the bottom. When they entered junior high school, the twins all failed in that era. Not everyone can enter junior high school. Girls like Chuxia and Luo Xiaoxian who went to high school are absolutely rare. If the siblings had junior high school diplomas, Chuxia would definitely have the cheek to ask Zhou Mikang for help. Whether it is serving as a soldier or finding a formal job in the commune, they are always out. But the actual situation is that the siblings only have elementary school diplomas, and these two roads are blocked. As for the entrance to university, it is even more unnecessary. She thought before that after a few years, the reform and opening up, you can suggest that the siblings start some small businesses. Although she is a small flower born in a greenhouse, she also knows that in the early days of reform and opening up, even selling socks can make a fortune. Both brothers and sisters are honest and capable, even if they can't make a lot of money because of their personalities, There is absolutely no problem in living a good life with this. But now, she can't tell Luan Xiaoxiang about these plans, but listening to Luan Xiaoxiang's voice, she and Luo Xiaoxiang's development has already stimulated her. How to deal with this kind of thing is really not her strong point. Before, she was not the only child. Her father is also an only child, so she has no uncles or aunts, only one uncle on the side of her grandma. My uncle has a cousin. She doesn't have much contact with her cousin, and her cousin helps her with everything. In general, she has no experience with poor relatives at all. When she came to this time and space, at first she couldn't tolerate anyone in her heart, and naturally she didn't pay attention to her relatives. Later, she accepted Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe. Her principle was that if she was kind to her parents, she would be kind to them. She didn't bother to take care of those who were not good to her parents. She was willing to promise Zhao Yuing that she would do whatever she asked her to do, because Zhao Yuing was kind to Zhao Yulan, her, and her family from the bottom of her heart. The 4 children of the Zhao family were not very different in age. First they married the eldest uncle Zhao Yushan, and then married the second uncle Zhao Yushui, so. Back then, the Zhao family was really struggling. Zhao Yuing got married and Zhao Yushui got married in the same year. That year Zhao Yukui was 18 years old and Zhao Yulan was 16 years old, the age at which girls love beauty. Zhao Yuing distributed the 4 sets of new clothes in the wedding gift to each of Zhao Yukui and Zhao Yulan. In the second year, Zhao Yukui got married. Only Zhao Yulan was left in the family, and for the next few years. Every Chinese New Year, Zhao Yuing would make a new set of clothes for Zhao Yulan, and she herself wore patched ones. Later Zhao Yulan got married. Zhao Yuing still secretly helped as much as she could. The small clothes and diapers she wore when she was a child were all prepared by her aunt and uncle. Chu Xia had heard Zhao Yulan say this more than once, so although she hated Wang Meifeng extremely, she still made such a promise to her aunt Zhao Yuing. After all, sister-in-law Lin Baojuan treats their family as well as Aunt Zhao Yuing treats their family, and the key point is that sister-in-law and twins also treat their family well, which makes Chuxia tangled. She really didn't want Luan Xiaoxiang to have a quarrel with her because of this matter. Not only Chu Xia was worrying, but Luo Xiaoxian was also frowning in deep thought. Luan Xiaoxiang saw that both of her faces darkened after she said a word, so she hurriedly said, "I'm just joking, don't be unhappy. Miss Xiaoxiang." Chu Xia looked at her seriously, "When I am able to help you, I will definitely help you." Luan Xiaoxiang's expression became serious. "Chu Xia, do you think I'm your sister?" Chu Xia nodded quickly, "Although you are only 2 months older than me, and although I sometimes only call you by your first name, I really regard you as my sister, and I still love you." "Then it's over, how can my sister not help my sister? How can my sister be angry with my sister?" Luan Xiaoxiang grinned. "I admit, seeing the life you and Xiaoxian are living now, I am envious, however, I am just envious, I know how much I have. Well, when you go back to your hometown in the future, you must come and play with me." "Chu Xia, don't take what I said as wind. You used to be so close to our home, and you didn't like to go there." Chu Xia hurriedly promised, "Don't worry, as long as I go home in the future, I will definitely go to play with you. I thought about it just now, but I couldn't find a way to help you." Luo Xiaoxian sighed, "Actually, our personalities are quite compatible. I really look forward to seeing you often." "Oh, you said you idiot, how can you study so badly?" "I don't want to either." Luan Xiaoxiang twitched, "Actually, I can learn, but I just can't learn." Luo Xiaoxian patted her on the back vigorously, "I am born to be useful, don't worry, one day, you will find something suitable for you to do." At this time, Wang Meifeng came out of the room, changed into clean clothes, and combed her hair neatly. Upon closer inspection, a thin layer of powder was smeared on her face, I'm hungry. She rushed a few. The man showed a big smile. Come down with me for dinner. Before they could answer, Wang Meifeng was already walking towards the stairs. Chu Xia and Luo Xiaoqing and Luan Xiaoxiang looked at each other blankly, and followed mechanically. Everyone downstairs was surprised to see Wang Meifeng come down. Just now Zhao Yueying explained to everyone how Wang Meifeng fell ill, and apologized to everyone, admitting that she was incapable of teaching girls. Everyone felt that at this time, Wang Meifeng was too embarrassed to meet people. But she dressed up neatly and came down with a smile on her face. Grandpa Zhou, I'm sorry. Wang Meifeng ignored everyone's gaze, walked straight to Mr. Zhou, and bowed to him. No, no, Mr. Zhou quickly waved his hands. You have nothing to do to me, son. What are you doing? Wrong is wrong, Grandpa Zhou. I have misunderstood sincerity. Wang Meifeng turned to look at Zhou Mikang, brother-in-law. I'm sorry. Zhou Mikang waved his hand, but said nothing. Wang Meifeng turned to bow to Mr. Zhao and Zhao Yishan and Zhao Yishui. Grandfather, uncle, I'm sorry, I have disgraced the Zhao family. Zhao Yueying had already told the story just now, so everyone was not surprised, but they didn't know how to answer her words. On behalf of everyone, Mr. Zhao responded vaguely and waved at her. Then, under everyone's surprised gaze, Wang Meifeng took a step back and bowed towards the female table. Because of me, everyone feels ashamed, I'm sorry. Seeing Wang Meifeng bowing and apologizing one by one, the corners of Chu Xia's mouth couldn't help twitching. Could this cousin come from Korea? In other words, this cousin's changeable personality has really given her a lot of experience. It seems that every once in a while, she gives her a surprise. Hi, is there any? In the end, Wang Meifeng bowed to Lin Baohe, turned to the women's table, and bowed to Zhao Yulan. Just when everyone thought she was going to continue apologizing, she sat beside Zhao Yueying. Mom, I'm hungry. Everyone. Until the end of the meal, Wang Meifeng did not make any other explanations. It seemed that all her previous actions were perfectly natural. Zhao Yueying was completely confused by her daughter. For the first time, she felt that she really didn't know enough about her daughter. Just now she came down to explain everything. She was thinking that Chu Xia should not be looked down upon by the Zhou family because of her daughter's deeds, and at the same time, she should not be despised by relatives and friends at Lin Baohe's side because of her daughter's deeds. She felt that the matter had already happened, and instead of hiding it for others to guess, it would be better for her to speak out freely, take all the responsibility on herself, and return the younger sister's family to be innocent. She thought so, and did so, but she was always apprehensive. She felt that her daughter might really ignore her from now on, and it was possible that she would live in the school dormitory after returning to her hometown, and never go home again before she got married. Therefore, since the explanation was finished, she seemed to be sitting there calmly, but her heart was boiling like a pot. Now, this series of behaviors of her daughter really confuses her. She had no choice but to make up her mind to ask her daughter what she was thinking when she went to sleep at night. Since she acted like she was close to her in front of others, she naturally had to cooperate with her. Not to mention Zhao Yulan, even Mrs. Zhao and Mr. Zhao, who had always had sharp eyesight, were shocked by Wang Meifeng's actions. However, everyone who had aspirations chose to remain silent in front of Zhou's family. After the meal, Luo Xiaoqian, who was overwhelmed by talking, dragged Chu Xia and Luan Xiaoxiang outside, took a long breath, and asked anxiously, Chu Xia, do you believe that she really repented? What's the matter if you believe it? What if you don't believe it? Chu Xia laughed. Anyway, this is the best result, isn't it? That's right, you don't have to worry about how sad Auntie is, and Auntie doesn't have to worry about what the Zhou family thinks of you anymore, and the Zhou family doesn't have to worry about whether Wang Meifeng is really sick or pretending to be sick. No matter what, it seems that this is the best result. Chu Xia sighed slightly, Actually, I don't hate her now. Although she is snobbish, she can immediately reflect on herself and find the best remedy when it is critical. This is easy to say, but not easy to do. It's generally difficult, and none of us can do this, and of course, we won't do what she did. Luan Xiaoxiang looked confused. Why do I think it's normal for her to do this? She can directly find her brother-in-law, which means that she doesn't take her face seriously at all. Since she doesn't take her face seriously, she throws it away and tells everyone sorry. It's not difficult at all, is it? Chu Xia stroked his forehead. Sure enough, it is still the easiest for real people to see through the truth. Suddenly, she realized that she really didn't need to worry about Luan Xiaoxiang being cheated when doing business in the future. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 224. One more. After venting the pent-up words in her heart, Luo Xiaoxian pointed to a lush green hill not far away and showed it to Chu Xia. I have nothing to do these 2 days, Xiaoxiang, and I went to climb that mountain. The wild fruit trees have already produced fruit, and the people living around here are all high-ranking officials, so it's certainly not a rare thing to pick them, and then we'll go there to enjoy our mouths. Okay. Luan Xiaoxiang pursed her mouth in dissatisfaction. Intentional. Luo Xiaoxian looked embarrassed. I really didn't do it on purpose. Why don't you come over in autumn and let's go to the mouth together? The more you say it, the more unreliable it is. Luan Xiaoxiang's mouth narrowed even more. Autumn is the time when I am busy harvesting corn and peanuts. I have to earn work points. How can I come? It's the same when you come back after harvesting. There should be still persimmons and pears. It's so far away, and it costs money to travel by car. If I dare to come, my grandma will have to scold me every day for food. Then, Luo Xiaoxian looked at Chu Xia begging for help, and she didn't know how to comfort her. She suddenly realized that there was a difference in status, and it was hard work to be friends. Luan Xiaoxiang grinned uncontrollably. Are you serious? Tell you, there are patches of sour dates on many fields in our village. When picking up cotton, a group of people picked up the ends and picked a handful of sour dates. Eating while chatting, that kind of taste, tisk, you guys can't taste it? Luo Xiaoxian has black lines. She has discovered that this honest man looks honest on the surface, but he is often listless in his bones. Chu Xia also laughed. People only had close contact with each other. Only then can I truly understand the past relationship with Luan Xiaoxiang. It was when she was visiting relatives, I only felt that she did not talk about her duties. Work neatly. This time, maybe he was far away from his hometown, and instinctively felt a sense of closeness to her, and his true character was fully displayed, with a bit of humor mixed with his honesty. It was hard for her not to like Luan Xiaoxiang like this. With a flash of inspiration in his mind, Chu Xia couldn't help asking, Miss Xiaoxiang, you did it on purpose to bring ginger soup to Wang Meifeng, right? Hearing this, Luo Xiaoxian stared at Luan Xiaoxiang in surprise. No way. Hey. Luan Xiaoxiang smiled innocently, with a look of embarrassment. I saw it when she went to find her brother-in-law. I don't like her doing that. Hey. Luo Xiaoxian was speechless and stroked her forehead. After a long time, the expert who pretends to be a pig and eats a tiger is here. Fortunately, I still think I am smarter than you. It turns out that I am a pig. Luan Xiaoxiang stared at her seriously. Don't say that about yourself. You are smarter than me. I am really bad at studying. That's not a fake. Luo Xiaoxian interrupted her with a cold snort. Anyway, I have to be more careful in the future, lest I be sold by you and count the money for you. Are you really angry? Luan Xiaoxiang poked her arm with an innocent face. I really didn't mean to lie to you. I didn't want to sue you. But I wanted to help Chu Xia, so I used such a foolish way. Don't worry, as long as you don't do something that is sorry for Chu Xia, I will definitely not treat you like that. Whoever does something wrong to Chuxia, I can't do something wrong to her. Luo Xiaoxian glared at Luan Xiaoxiang dissatisfied. You are insulting me by saying that. I still treat you as a friend, to let me down. Seeing that Luo Xiaoxian's gloomy face did not seem to be fake, Luan Xiaoxiang was really anxious, her face wrinkled into a bitter gourd shape. I didn't mean that, I just said it in passing, don't be angry with me, okay? If you have any ideas to tell us in the future, you can't hold back and let us know, can you? Yes, yes. Luan Xiaoxiang nodded again and again. I wanted to tell you guys, but I haven't found a chance. You make sense. Luo Xiaoxian rolled her eyes, and couldn't help laughing again. However, you look good like this, and you will continue to maintain it in the future. Luan Xiaoxiang. Luan Dejiang came out of the yard and saw three people. His face was obviously a little uncomfortable, the kind of discomfort a man sees a woman. Brother, where is Xiaoqing? These days, Luan Dejiang played with Zhang Xiaoqing. Seeing him come out by himself, Luan Xiaoxiang was a little puzzled. He was talking to his brother-in-law. Luan Dejiang looked a little depressed. Luo Xiaoxiang said amusedly, kicked you out? No, Luan Dejiang lowered his head and drew circles on the ground with his toes, didn't kick me out. Then why are you so virtuous? Luo Xiaoxiang looked him up and down. Do you know that every time my brother sees Zhong Hongying and gets hit, he looks like this? Xiaoqing is asking about being a soldier, Chu Xia asked. And Luan Dejiang nodded, sighed heavily, and became even more depressed. There are few men who don't want to be a soldier, and he is no exception. Some time ago, he went to the military inspection with his little friends Wang Lin and Zhang Dongzi, who grew up together in the village. Zhang Dongzi went to junior high school for 2 years, and the leader accepted him with a little accommodation. Both he and Wang Lin have elementary school diplomas, and the leader regrettably said that if they were fined 2 years ago, now the country has regulations that no one who has not attended junior high school will be accepted. Since returning to the village, Zhang Dongzi no longer played with him and Wang Lin, and she felt as if she would be ashamed to be with them. Indeed, after the military inspection, Zhang Dongzi was praised wherever he went, but he and Wang Lin were always sighed wherever they went. Originally, after so many days, the discomfort in his heart had faded away, but today he heard Zhang Xiaoqing ask about being a soldier there. He felt inexplicably uncomfortable. He blamed himself for being too stupid and hard-working enough. For nothing his whole life was ruined. God knows, he wanted to wear that green military uniform even in his dreams. Just at this time, Zhang Xiaoqing also came out of the yard, with a happy smile on his face, and when he saw Chu Xia, he ran over in a few steps. I asked my brother-in-law, and he said that even if he was a soldier, he was still a cultural soldier future. He asked me to take the military academy entrance examination next year. I decided to study hard and become the first college student in our family. Chu Xia laughed, you're just studying, you have to work harder. While speaking, he glanced at Luan Dejiang secretly, and found that his head was hanging lower. Dejiang, why didn't you wait for me to come out? Zhang Xiaoqing slapped him, I'm still looking for you around the house. Luan Dejiang smiled stiffly, you were talking to my brother-in-law, but I couldn't get in, so I came out first. Why can't you talk about it? Zhang Xiaoqing sighed, it should be because he failed the military inspection this year and felt uncomfortable, so he didn't want to hear about being a soldier, right? Hey, Luo Xiaoxian stared at Zhang Xiaoqing with displeasure, you know why he is sad, but you still have to expose the fault, it's not good to be so unkind. Who exposed him? Is it possible that you can't mention the word becoming a soldier in front of him in the future? Man, do you need to be so narrow-minded? Luan Dejiang quickly explained, I'm not narrow-minded and angry with you, I just think of being looked down upon by my friends in the village, and I feel a little uncomfortable. Hey, your habit of keeping things in your head is not good. I asked my brother-in-law for you just now, and he said that in your situation, if you really want to be a soldier, you can, but under normal circumstances, you can only be a soldier for 3 years. Really? Luan Daejeong hurriedly grabbed Zhang Xiaoqing's sleeve and shook it vigorously. You mean brother-in-law? Oh, no, it was brother-in-law who said that I can be a soldier too. Zhang Xiaoqing nodded. Well, but the arms may be close. Okay, good or bad, as long as I can be a soldier, any soldier will do. Luan Daejeong's big black face turned purple in excitement. Brother, don't worry. Luan Xiaoxiang tugged at Luan Daejeong helplessly, and looked at Zhang Xiaoqing. My brother is sincere, he will take it seriously. I'm telling the truth. Zhang Xiaoqing spread his hands. If you don't believe me, you can ask your brother-in-law. He said that the army actually likes brother Daejeong who measures his figure. Normally, recruiting is not impossible for those with low academic qualifications, but the procedure will be more complicated, and the leaders in charge of recruiting generally don't want to bother. The brother-in-law said that if brother Daejeong wants to serve as a soldier, he can arrange it, but brother Daejeong needs to listen to the opinions of his sister-in-law and uncle before making a decision on this matter. Luan Xiaoxiang nodded happily. My mother and my father agreed, but they are looking forward to my brother being a soldier. They don't want to do anything else. It's easy to find a wife. This is the truth. Today's rural boys, as long as they can serve as soldiers, are much sought after to find a wife. Regardless of whether they can be converted into volunteers or not, anyway, everyone is looking forward to it so much. As long as there is an eventuality, the wife is taken out, and the whole family becomes a non-agricultural household registration. Luan Daejeong didn't expect his younger sister to say that, and his face flushed immediately. I just want to be a soldier, and I don't want to find a wife. Sooner or later, you won't be able to find a wife. Luan Xiaoxiang curled her lips. This must be what our parents are thinking about. If you don't believe me, just ask. Discussing this kind of issue in front of everyone is too embarrassing. Luan Daejeong was so angry with his sister that he couldn't speak, but he was happy to be a soldier in his heart. For a while, he stood there with his mouth half open, with an indescribably funny expression. Zhang Xiaoqing came to Chu Xia's side, and smirked guiltily. You don't think I'm meddling, do you? Chu Xia squinted at him. I've already taken care of everything, and you still come to ask me. Sister, I'm here to help you. You said before that your sister-in-law's family is very helpful to you, and I've been with Luan Daejeong these 2 days, and I can tell from his words that he envies being a soldier. I took advantage of the chat with my brother-in-law and asked him for him. If you ask your brother-in-law about this kind of thing, no matter whether it is possible or not, your brother-in-law will have to find a way to do it. As for me, I just asked in a curious tone. I didn't expect my brother-in-law to be too smart. He knew what I meant as soon as he heard it, and immediately gave me an affirmative answer. Sister, I can tell that my brother-in-law really values you. I was worried that you would be so stupid that you would not please my brother-in-law. Now it seems that I am really worrying. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 225. Zhang Xiaoqing. Chu Xia looked at him with a half-smile. It's been so many years, and this is the first time you've willingly called me sister. He. Okay, stop smirking. The corner of Chu Xia's mouth twitched. A man's good face is not necessarily a bad thing, but it is really respectable to use one's own ability to win face. Zhang Xiaoqing's face turned red when his mind was seen through, and he murmured not knowing what to say, but secretly wondered in his heart, when did the stupid Chu Xia become so smart? I really hate pulling the tiger's skin to make a big banner. For the sake of you helping me last time, I won't pursue it. However, This is not an example. Chu Xia said that Zhang Xiaoqing went to grandma's house overnight and tipped her off. Family plan. Zhang Xiaoqing hurriedly said, I'm your younger brother, it's up to me to do that, sister, I promise, I won't bring up anything that embarrasses my sister for the sake of my own face. Chu Xia shook her head amusedly. Zhang Xiaoqing is a child who was spoiled and brought up. Fortunately, his temper is more like that of his second uncle Zhang. Although he is usually a little out of tune, but at critical times, he can understand the situation clearly and make the right choice. However, proper beating is necessary. He is a child at heart, and he is a little too concerned about face. Maybe he thinks that Zhou Mikang is easy to talk to. Actually, Zhang Xiaoqing quickly glanced to the side, seeing that Luo Xiaoxian was chatting enthusiastically with Luan Dejiang and Luan Xiaoxiang, he continued, actually, I did this to test my brother-in-law, and now I can finally rest assured. Don't do this kind of thing again. Chu Xia glared at him, Zhang Xiajun, you are more than 2 years younger than me. Don't imitate my parents' tone of voice. Also, don't think I don't know your temper. Or maybe you are helping me to test, but the key point is that you want to claim credit in front of Luan Dejiang. Hey. Zhang Xiaoqing smiled embarrassedly, sister, you are really different from before, it seems that you are a person who has experienced experience when you come out to serve as a soldier. I admit, I have the idea of showing off, in fact. What I'm showing off is that I have a good relationship with you, and I can do what Luan Dejiang can't do. Sister, you are married, at least let me balance my mind, don't pretend to be confused and say that you don't know that I have been secretly in love with you. Chu Xia smirked, Zhang Xiaoqing, believe it or not, I will tell my mother and second aunt to go. We'll see how they deal with you then. Okay. Sister, my dear sister, I won't dare to talk nonsense like this in the future, but this is the last time. Sister, you are already married, so let me speak out what's on my mind. Chu Xia curled her lips, cut. What do little hairy kids know? Don't underestimate people. It's not that you don't know what kind of personality I am, if I don't like you from the bottom of my heart, I will report to you in the middle of the night. Sister, you are the first girl I like. I just think you are good looking, but I already knew that it is impossible for me to be with you, and I have no plans to do anything with you, I just want to treat you better, and I am relieved to see you marry a good man. Chu Xia couldn't help it, and sprayed. Just imagine a child of half a child, acting like an adult in front of you, saying some old-fashioned things, and still feeling good about himself. What's the matter? Luo Xiaoxian leaned over curiously, what's so funny that makes you laugh like this? Zhang Xiaoqing Tongzi, who was full of young boy's thoughts and didn't get any normal response, felt a heavy blow, drooped his shoulders, and walked to the hill in the distance without looking back. Seeing this, Luan Dejiang hurriedly followed. Now, he is very grateful to Zhang Xiaoqing. Chu Xia, what's the matter with him? Luan Xiaoxiang looked at Zhang Xiaoqing's lifeless back with a curious look on his face, and then asked a little nervously, is it because he helped my brother? You're not too happy, and you're talking about him. No. Chu Xia shook his head with a smile, and said truthfully, he told me he had a girl he liked, I couldn't control my laughter, probably because I didn't respect him enough, got angry, it's okay, let him go for a stroll and come back. It's your fault. He kindly told you what's on his mind. How could you have such an attitude? Luo Xiaoxian rubbed Chu Xia gossipingly while talking, which village does the girl he likes come from? What's her name? Do I know each other? His classmate, he probably belongs to the same village as them. I didn't even have time to ask. Chu Xia stopped suddenly as she spoke, and looked in a certain direction, and saw a middle-aged woman standing from a distance and looking at her. Seeing her looking over, she quickly turned and went back to the yard. She knew who the yard belonged to, and of course she could guess who the woman was, but she had nothing to worry about, as everyone has curiosity. Although Zhao Yulan and the others had been here for several days, they hadn't gone out to play. It just so happened that Zhou Mikang and Chu Xia both took their wedding leave, so they decided to come early the next morning and take everyone to visit the characteristic scenic spots in City A. Previously, Zhou Mikang wanted to send someone to take everyone to play around first, but was rejected by Mrs. Zhao, who said that according to the customs of her hometown, it is not good for her mother's family to go out with her in-laws before returning home. Since then, Zhou Mikang had no choice but to give up. On the way back to Zhou's house, Chu Xia took the initiative to mention Zhang Xiaoqing's back door for Luan Dejiang, and said, "I didn't know that Zhang Xiaoqing would ask you to make such a request. If you encounter such a thing again in the future, if you don't want to help, you cannot give an exact answer, just say you want to discuss it with me, and I will refuse it when the time comes." It's not that she's unkind, but she feels from the bottom of her heart that it's meaningless to choose a poor unit, serve as a soldier for 3 years, and then go back to farm. However, since Zhou Mikang has already agreed, and Luan Dejiang is so happy, if no matter how much he repents, Luan Dejiang might be disappointed, and maybe his sister-in-law and uncle might have some opinions on Zhou Mikang. She brought it up now. One is to apologize for her natal family, and the other is to remind Zhou Mikang in disguise, "Don't forget what you promised." How could Zhou Mikang not know what she was thinking, so he turned his head and stared at her with displeasure on his face. "Do you think I'm the kind of person who talks nonsense? No, I know you are a man who promises everything. I don't doubt that you will forget. I don't trust Zhang Xiaoqing's ability to understand." She was indeed worried about this, in case Zhou Mikang didn't mean to agree to solve the problem of being a soldier for Luan Dejiang, but Zhang Xiaoqing misunderstood it, and if she didn't care about it, then Luan Dejiang's waiting would turn into resentment. But what to do? That cousin of yours has a strong comprehension ability, and... Zhou Mikang snorted, "Do you really think I'm a fool if you try to trick me in different ways? Lin Chuxia, do you know why I must ask you to marry me early? I just don't want to see these messy people all come to like you. I hate when others think of my woman." The little driver in charge of the car had a distorted expression on his face, which was beyond his comprehension. In his impression, the third young master, who was so proud that he didn't even dare to provoke the old man, would say such a thing? Chu Xia was also choked for a long time without saying a word, especially when she glanced at the rearview mirror reflexively and saw the little driver's expression. She didn't know what to say. For a long time, I felt so silent, and the key point was that it was uncomfortable to be stared at by a certain animal, so I pretended to smile casually. "He is a child, he is my cousin, are you thinking too much? I wish. Let me be serious with you. When I marry you, no matter whether I admit it or not, others will think that I am a climber. Next, each of you may want to get more money. Zhou Mikang, there are too many relatives in my family. If you take care of this and ignore that, it may cause unnecessary conflicts. In the future, you don't have to respond to such things, really. I'm not trying to test you, you can just push me. If I think it's worth helping relatives, I will ask you to intercede. If I don't think it's worth helping, I will directly refuse. Do this, do you agree?" Zhou Mikang sized her up with dissatisfaction on his face. "You think I agreed indiscriminately? When Wang Meifeng begged me, I didn't agree. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind." Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 226. As soon as the update arrived, something happened during the day and it was missed. There is still a chapter that is almost finished, and it has not been finished. It will be posted later. Hearing Zhou Mikang talk about Wang Meifeng, Chu Xia couldn't help poking him curiously. "Tell me the truth, what did you think at that time? What do you think I should think?" Looking at the expression on the head of the group, Chusia stopped beating around the bush. If I asked you to help her, would you help, without skipping words? No help. The other party replied without even thinking about it. Chusia, who had been choking for a long time, didn't recover, but the driver finally looked normal. This is like the temper of his third young master. How can a little girl control everything? Why don't you help? Chusia stared at Joe Mikang angrily. It's a lie to say that if you marry me, you will treat me well. You just got married, and that's it? What's wrong? Joe Mikang raised his eyebrows and looked at Chusia. Tell me, what's wrong with me? Chusia snorted. You rejected my request without even thinking about it. You don't respect me at all. Joe Mikang stared at her with a half smile. You mean, Wang Meifeng begged me and I should immediately agree to her, just to respect you? The roots of Chusia's hatred are itchy. Don't confuse the public. What I mean is, if I ask you to help her, you should think about it and tell me whether you want to help, instead of just refusing without even thinking about it. You don't seem to be short-sighted. Why are you doing stupid things? Joe Mikang sized her up with a frown. Lin Chuxia, are you sure you want to help such a woman? I didn't say I was going to help. I mean, you should take my advice into consideration. If it is correct, of course I will consider it. If I know it is wrong, do I still need to consider it? Don't skip words. Joe Mikang stared at Chusia seriously. Did I consider what your cousin begged me for? From this point of view, don't you understand, without skipping words? Understand what? Chusia was a little confused by him, and looked at him in a daze. Can you be more clear? What should I understand? Lin Chuxia. You told me just now that you have too many relatives, some of whom are worth helping and some of whom are not. Now, why are you getting confused? I hate it. Chusia stared at him bitterly. Why is it so troublesome to communicate with you? I didn't say that Wang Meifeng was definitely worth helping. But, whether she is worth it or not, you have to seriously consider my opinion, understand? Do not skip words. Joe Mikang looked puzzled. I knew she wasn't worth helping, but I agreed to you when you couldn't figure it out. Aren't you the one who suffers in the end? Humph. Chusia snorted coldly, stared out of the window and said nothing, but hated her in her heart. I have never seen such an ignorant person. All she wants is respect. Is he going to argue with her here? Sure enough, marriage is a troublesome thing. It's also an annoying thing for two people to get along with each other. Forget it, I don't bother to talk to him about it in the future. Since we didn't get together because of love, why bother with this thing? She herself is really having a brain twitch. Joe Mikang frowned and poked Chusia, angry. Chusia's head tilted again, leaving only the back of the opponent's head intact. Unreasonable. Joe Mikang was also angry, because your ego lets you down, but you can't be so unreasonable, right? Many words are clearly for your own good. Why are you angry? Can't you see what that Wang Meifeng is thinking? If you really promise her, how will you get along with your relatives in the future? And an aunt won't say hello to you, they are unhappy. Can our mother be happy? Our mother is not happy. Can you be happy? Why don't you understand such a simple truth? Still here playing with me like a child. I think I just spoil you too much, so that you don't even know who you are. You. Chusia was gasping for breath. Dare she was just a child in his eyes, someone who didn't understand anything and sold her and gave her back the 205. Joe Mikang's heart softened seeing Chusia's anger. It's really not good to quarrel like this after only 3 days of marriage. If you go home and show it to the elders, you might be worried, and everyone is not familiar with Chusia. It's not good for her either. Thinking of this, he wanted to coax Chusia, but when the words came to his lips, he couldn't get angry when he saw the other party's long face. This child is too naive. Then Wang Meifeng was using her at all, how could she be so cowardly? The nature of my job is doomed and I can't guard her every day in the future. What if someone takes advantage of her and gets hurt? No, you can't just let her go just because you love her. Then, the head of the group, Zhaizi, also lowered his face, stared outside and said nothing. The driver glanced at this and then that from the rearview mirror, with a tangled expression on his face, and unconsciously slowed down a little, hoping that the two of them could calm down before they got home. "Stop," Chu Xia suddenly shouted. The driver hesitated for a moment, slowed down and didn't dare to stop. "Stop," Chu Xia shouted again. "Stop making trouble." Okay, Zhou Mikang was also furious. He was not a good-tempered man, and what he hated the most were chattering girls. He originally liked Chu Xia's willfulness. Unexpectedly, she would have such a petty temper with him, which made his anger that had been suppressed all of a sudden burst up. "Who is making trouble with you?" Chu Xia frowned and gave him a white look. "Stop the car quickly, I just saw someone who looks a bit like my second aunt." "Really?" Zhou Mikang looked serious. "Xiao Wang, back up the car." "Yes." The driver quickly shifted into reverse gear and backed up quickly. There are only a handful of cars on the road in this era, and it's no obstacle to reverse the car. Therefore, in the blink of an eye, Chu Xia saw the two figures that he missed just now. A short, stocky middle-aged woman, wearing black trousers, a blue jacket, carrying a bag, and next to her is a short, stocky girl, also wearing black pants and a blue jacket, carrying a worn-out army green school bag. Both of them have messy hair, and their faces are also black and white. After looking carefully for a while, Chu Xia is completely sure that it is the second aunt Lin Ziahua and the third cousin Zhao Qian. It's them. At the same time Chu Xia's voice fell, the car creaked and stopped beside the mother and daughter. The mother and daughter continued to walk forward as if they hadn't seen or heard anything. Chu Xia hurriedly pushed the car door and got off. "Second aunt, Sister Qian." The two people in front still walked forward without saying a word. At this time, Zhou Mikang had already got out of the car, and looked at Chu Xia suspiciously. "Are you sure you didn't admit your mistake?" Chu Xia was also a little uncertain, but, is there anyone in this world who looks as imaginable? In particular, one looks like two. Although the second aunt and Zhao Qian didn't treat her well, but for the sake of grandma, grandpa and second uncle, she can't see it and pretend not to see it. After all, they are not familiar with each other here. Whatever happened, she would never feel at ease for the rest of her life. So, whether it is true or not, she has to make sure, take a few steps, run to the front of the mother and daughter. Chu Xia carefully looks at it, and confirms again, it is Lin Ziahua and Zhao Qian. "Second aunt, Qian, why are you here?" "I found you." When she was looking at the two of them, they were also looking at her, and then, almost at the same time, both of them opened their mouths. "Chu Xia, woo woo woo." Zhao Qian held Chu Xia's hand and cried out loudly, while Lin Ziahua sat down on the ground and started howling too. "Second aunt, Qian, please stop crying." Chu Xia looked back at Zhou Mikang. "Why don't you send them to the ancestral house?" Zhou Mikang nodded and looked at Lin Ziahua who was crying. "Second aunt, get in the car, I'll take you to find second uncle." "And me, why didn't you greet me?" Zhao Qian protested while crying. Zhou Mikang didn't even look at her out of the corner of his eyes. He helped Chu Xia drag Lin Ziahua up and put him in the car, then turned to the front, sat in the co-pilot seat, and told the driver, "Xiao Wang, go back to the ancestral house." "Yes," Xiao Wang replied, turned the car around, and secretly rejoiced in his heart that he met these people. Otherwise, the two of them went back awkwardly, and the whole family might be worried about what would happen. Or because of his mood, he actually found Lin Ziahua and Zhao Qian particularly pleasing to the eye. "Second aunt, Sister Qian, you are After the two of them stopped crying, Chusia looked at the mother and daughter, full of doubts. Lin Xiahua took out a crumpled handkerchief, blew her nose with a coax, and looked at Chusia. Xia, tell me, do you not regard the second aunt as a relative? Second aunt, can you say something? Chusia didn't answer her words. To be honest, she was so impressed by second aunt's harshness that she couldn't express it against her will. I knew that you child hated second aunt, and even Qian. In Chuxia, you can't blame second aunt and Qian for the Xue family's affairs. The matchmaker took the initiative to find the family, and the second aunt didn't know that the Xue family was interested in you, so she agreed to let Qian go to meet each other. Later, it was Xue Ligong who promised to let Qian go to the army. You said, if your mother gets this kind of news, can she stop you from being a soldier? You can understand this kind of thing, right? A lot of words, Lin Xiahua said as she quietly glanced at Zhou Mikang. No one blames second aunt and sister Qian for this matter. It's because you guys are thinking too much. Chu Xia looked at her indifferently. If I hadn't met you here, I wouldn't bother to talk to you for fear that you would suffer. It is a fact that there is not much relationship between them, so the second aunt doesn't need to use some messy things to bury me. You have no place to bury me. She was really angry, so she asked Lin Xiahua carefully, but she didn't answer. She insisted on talking about it, so let's talk about it together, as if she can't? To be continued. Chapter 217. Chapter 217 Coincidence *. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 227. The second watch arrived, just finished repairing. Xia, how could second aunt miss you? Isn't this explaining the past to you? Lin Xiahua carefully looked at Chu Xia's face. Xia, if I hadn't met you, second aunt and Qian would have said yes. I'm going to die outside, oh. Originally, I was annoyed after arguing with Zhou Mikang, but now that Lin Xiahua was out of the predicament, she wanted to put on small shoes for her, so she closed her eyes and leaned back without making a sound. After howling for a while, Lin Xiahua, who didn't get any response, stopped crying embarrassingly, and pushed Chu Xia. Xia, are you really angry with second aunt? Chu Xia. Xia, the second aunt was worried that you might misunderstand, so she hurriedly brought up the past to explain to you. It was the second aunt who was wrong. The matter is over, so why bring it up? But this time, the second aunt is really sad. You said you got married, how could you not let us support you? No, I'm afraid that you will be looked down upon by your in-laws, so your sister and I came here by car. I don't know, that damned thief didn't know when he took all the money from us. Your sister and I are not familiar with the place where we live, so I asked someone how to get to Master A. That person was also bad. We were pointed into the nooks and crannies. By the time I felt something was wrong, I had already left the city center. I was afraid of meeting bad people, and your sister and I didn't dare to go on the road at night, so we found a corner and stared at it all night. Fortunately, it's not too cold this day, and I can sleep in the cave, otherwise. Maybe your sister and I have froze to death. Achoo, Zhao Qian sneezed loudly as if to suit the occasion. Quickly followed her mother's words, Chu Xia. You have to treat us well because of our hard work. You came here by car just to attend my wedding. Chu Xia looked at the mother and daughter who escaped from the camp. Did you wander around the city like this these 2 days? We're not wandering around, we're looking for someone to find out the way. You don't even know where I got married, so you just came here. Chu Xia stared at Lin Xiahua speechlessly. Second aunt, you did this. I'm really flattered. It should be, your second uncle's bastard, Qian, and I went back to Qian's grandma's house. It's not like he didn't know where Qian's grandma's house was, but he didn't call us, so he followed the car. Qian and I talked all the way home, so we hurried to buy a bus ticket, you said. Your grandparents in the Lin family are nothing, and your uncle and uncle won't come. If we don't come again, what will your in-laws think? It seemed to realize suddenly. The two people sitting in front belonged to Chu Xia's husband's family. Lin Xiahua quickly lowered her voice, Xia. Where is your son-in-law? Chu Xia has a black thread on her head, she thought. Didn't I greet you just now and call your second aunt? Before she could answer, Zhao Qian whispered in her ear, this is your son-in-law's driver and soldier, right? Are they okay when they heard what we said? Hearing what Zhao Qian said, Chu Xia suddenly realized that it was rumored in the family that she married a half-old man, and it was just dawn when Zhou Mikang went to pick her up, so no one saw it, so even if Zhou Mikang called Lin Xiahua just now, second aunt, she didn't guess him on the identity of his nephew and son-in-law. Second aunt, do you have something to do with me? At this time, Zhou Mikang turned around and looked at Lin Xiahua calmly, what do you want? Ah, Lin Xiahua stared at him in a daze, and didn't say a word for a long time. She never thought that this handsome young man was Chu Xia's husband. Even if the other party helped Chu Xia to help her get into the car and called her second aunt just now, she didn't think about it at all. There must be soldiers under the head of the regiment. The soldiers must please the head of the regiment, so, she took it for granted. Zhao Qian was even more sluggish at this time. She never expected that the younger sister she despised the most would marry such a young and capable man. After the marriage of Shui's family went bad, her reputation in the village was very bad, and after her mother let her serve as a soldier through the back door of Shui's family, her reputation became even worse. For more than half a year, there was not a single matchmaker who came to propose marriage. Seeing that she was running towards her 20s, she and her mother were in a hurry. Most of the local girls got engaged at the age of 18 or 9, so they ran to grandma's house every few days, just hoping there can be good marriage there. After learning that Chu Xia was going to get married and marry an old man, the two mothers felt a little envious after expressing their disdain. Even if the officer you marry is older, at most 40 years old, after the old officer is gone, it will be worthwhile to remarry again. With the old officer's family background, can the man who married the second be worse? Thinking about it this way, the couple wished they could snatch the man Chu Xia was going to marry, but unfortunately, this kind of thing can't be done just by thinking about it. They had to live their own lives, so the mother and father ran to grandma's house more frequently, but when they came back this time, they found that General Tai was guarding the door. They didn't see Zhao Yufeng go back until noon, so the mother and father went to Mrs. Zhao's place, but Zhao Qiwi was the only one who received them. Then, from what Zhao Qiwi said, the couple knew that the whole family had gone to City A to attend Lin Chuxia's wedding. Can dispatch a large cart to pull, is that an ordinary family? In the recent situation where they were struggling to find a marriage, the couple had an idea. Lin Chuxia married a soldier, so the people who went to the wedding were all soldiers. What a great opportunity to find a son-in-law. So, the two hit it off immediately. They asked for Zhao Qiliang's address in City A, took all the money, put on the best clothes, and set off on the road with a small package. People stripped it clean. Over the past few days, the two women have become more and more confused as they walked, their minds were confused and muddled. This is why Chu Xia called them for a long time without responding. At that time, they didn't know where the fugue had gone. Shout. It's just, didn't you say that Chu Xia married an old man and head of the regiment? How did this become a young man in his 20s? After a long time, Lin Chuxia didn't marry the head of the regiment. In fact, she drove for the head of the regiment, or the regimental commander's orderly. Until they were sent to the ancestral house, they were still dizzy. Seeing Zhao Yufeng, Lin Xiahua howled with an awe. As for Zhao Qian, she threw herself into the arms of the old lady Zhao with snot and tears streaming down her face. On the road, We saw the second ant on the back, so we went back and looked, but I didn't expect it to be true. Chu Xia briefly explained to everyone the process of meeting Lin Ziahua, and then left with Zhou Mikang. According to the custom, on the night of going back to the third day, you have to go back to your in-laws' house to have dinner with the elders. After such a toss, it's almost evening. If you don't go back, it will be a big disrespect. Mr. Zhao and others saw Lin Ziahua's mother and daughter, and they were astonished. After the mother and daughter finished crying and complaining, everyone broke out in a cold sweat. Go, what a shame. Well, everyone seems to be ignoring it together. What if the mother and daughter can't find Chu Xia and are cheated? But Chu Xia and Zhou Mikang, after such a toss, most of the anger in their hearts has subsided. Thinking of Zhou Mikang's performance just now, Chu Xia felt that his previous entanglement was a bit boring, so he took the initiative to apologize. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be indiscriminate. It's all your fault. Chu Xia really apologized, but Zhou Mikang felt embarrassed instead. How can I blame you? It's my fault, a big man, who is so much older than you, and playing childish temper with you, it's all my fault. Actually, neither of us is right, but our ideas are a little different. There was a problem in communication. I was angry before. It really didn't mean that I was angry because you didn't help Wang Meifeng. Of course I know what kind of person she is. Since she was a child, she has never looked at me directly. Why is she being so nice to me now? How can I not know? Besides, I would rather demolish 10 temples than destroy one marriage. How could I satisfy her desires for the sake of vanity, which would lead to the breakdown of her marriage with Jiang's family? What I want is that after I make a request, no matter whether it is right or wrong, you can seriously consider it before giving me an answer. This is the minimum respect. Of course, if you make a request to me, I must give you an answer after careful consideration, and I can't just reject you based on my intuitive judgment. Although Chu Xia patiently explained, to Zhou Mikang's ears, it was still a bit unnecessary, but this time he did not express any objection, and nodded happily. Okay, I will pay attention. I don't like that you treat me like a child. I am your wife now, and I am the one who will accompany you for the rest of my life. If you only treat me as a child, there will be a lack of an equal relationship between us. After a pause, Chu Xia continued, is that kind of marriage really what you want? He murmured to himself, you are a child, but he didn't dare to say it outright, but lying was not in his character, so he just nodded without saying a word. Chu Xia could roughly guess what he was thinking, so she sighed secretly. If two people from different worlds want to communicate well, it only takes 3 or 2 days to get in touch. Or, she needs to be prepared for a protracted battle, but she believes that one day, she will get along well with him, and through his performance in the past few days, she has firm confidence in this. The interaction between the two of them did not carry the driver Xiao Wang behind their backs. This made the driver Xiao Wang, who had never even had a girlfriend, sweat profusely while listening to it, and secretly muttered in his heart, is it better not to get married in this life? He feels that marriage is really troublesome, women are really troublesome, and coaxing women is even more troublesome. How can he handle things that the third young master can't handle? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 228. Zhou Mikang closed his eyes and leaned on the back of the chair. He didn't know if he was asleep or was thinking about something. He glanced at him. Chu Xia curled his lips quietly, and turned his gaze out of the window. I will get along with you on an equal footing, don't worry. With a sudden sound, Chu Xia shivered in shock, turned around, and happened to meet his long and narrow eyes. His expression was full of seriousness. Obviously, He had been thinking about what she said just now. Since I asked you to marry me, and since what I like is your unique temperament, then I will naturally accept some unique ideas you put forward. But remember, in the future, if you have something to say, don't play petty temper with me. Let me guess your mind. What I hate the most is this. Yet Chusea's bellyful of emotion disappeared completely because of his words, and she nodded lightly in response, without saying anything else. Jo Mikang frowned. Are you unhappy? No. Chusea shook his head. I know what to do in the future, don't worry. His lips moved, but Jo Mikang finally didn't say anything. He was not a talkative man, and he didn't know much about girls' temperament. At this moment, he felt that Chusea's anger was a bit inexplicable, and he was about to go home. I didn't want to make her more angry, so I chose to remain silent. Driver Xiao Wang sighed secretly. Mother, why did you become like this again? Dare to feel that the circle just now was in vain? Dare he drive so slowly? Why not? We'll be at the Zhou family's old house ahead, he really can't help it. Chusea followed Jo Mikang into the hall, and Zhou Xiangping warmly greeted her and took her arm. Sister-in-law 3, are you tired? Not tired, thank you. Fourth sister Chusea replied politely. After greeting the elders one by one, they sat down next to Lin Yangkai with Zhou Xiangping. The atmosphere in the hall was a little depressing. Chusea quietly glanced at the time. It was only 6 o'clock sharp, and Zhou's family usually had dinner around 6:30, so it shouldn't be because she and Jo Mikang came back late. Thinking back carefully, she didn't seem to have done anything unpleasant. By the way, Mr. Zhou seems to have answered a phone call and left in a hurry. He didn't bring Grandpa Dagong and Grandma Dagong back with him, or did something happen to the Zhou family? She has only been married for 3 days, does she count as the Zhou family or not? Do you take the initiative to get up and say goodbye or wait? Just as he was hesitating, he heard Mrs. Zhou say, Chusea, go back to the house. Yes, Chusea felt relieved, got up to say goodbye to everyone, and then walked to the stairs. Jo Mikang got up and followed behind her without saying a word. Xiaomi, you stay here, Mrs. Zhou said. What's the matter? Jo Mikang grabbed Chusea and turned around. There was a hint of impatience in his eyes looking at Mrs. Zhou. Let Chusea go upstairs to rest, you stay and have a meeting, Mrs. Zhou said again. Chusea is my wife, a member of the Zhou family. She can participate in anything I can participate in. It's not suitable for her to participate in this matter. If Grandma doesn't like it, I can move out with Chusea. Pause. Jo Mikang continued, tomorrow. We will move out. You, where are you going to move? Is it the ancestral house? That's also the Zhou family's house, not yours. Mrs. Zhou felt a sudden pain in her head. The mess of things this day really wore out her patience. Xiaominjiao, Mr. Zhou stopped drinking, and looked at Jo Mikang. Xiaomi, let Chusea go up to rest, not because he doesn't treat her as a family, but because he doesn't want her to be troubled by these troublesome things. After all, you are just newly married. If it wasn't about your future, we didn't intend to tell you, but now. With a heavy sigh, Mr. Zhou smiled at Chusea warmly. Chusea, don't be as knowledgeable as your grandma. I was upset, and what I said was not true. Grandpa, I know. Chusea smiled awkwardly, and pulled hard on the hand held by Jo Mikang. I'm tired, I want to go up and rest for a while. No, Jo Mikang was categorical. No matter why the family meeting is held today, since it is the family meeting of the Zhou family, you must attend, he said and looked at the elders. This is Chusea who came here to marry, the Zhou family, the first family meeting at the time. If she wasn't there, I wouldn't be there either. Chusea's head is getting bigger. She doesn't want to participate, really. Since people don't want her to know, why must they drag her to let her know? In the past few days since her marriage, she has also seen that the Zhou family really did not treat her as an outsider. Even though the old lady Jo didn't like her very much, she tried her best to defend her in front of outsiders. Since she was so resolutely proposed not to let her participate, there must be a reason for not letting her participate. Moreover, Mr. Zhou and Zhou Jingping and Lin Yangkai also acquiesced to Mrs. Zhou's proposal, which is even more telling. This stubborn head, what kind of stubbornness did you commit at this time? Suddenly, she remembered the conversation she had with him on the road. I don't like you treating me like a child. I am your wife now, and I am the one who will accompany you for the rest of my life. If you only treat me as a child, we lack an equal relationship. Such a marriage is yours. Want it? I will treat you as an equal, don't worry. Obviously, he is giving her an equality, and he is also fighting for an equality for her. Oh, that's not what she meant. Regarding the Zhou family's affairs, she doesn't have to be equal. It is really difficult to communicate and get in touch with different backgrounds and different times. It seems that in the future, she has to keep in mind that if she has any ideas, she can tell him directly, instead of reminding him with big principles. For a serious person, turning the corner will only make her commit a crime of her own. Chu Xia's current mood is really painful and happy, embarrassing and complaining at the same time, and deeply moved at the same time. No matter what, he listened to her words, although he played with her on the road and ignored her, but he really took her. I listened to her words and really respected her. Insisting in front of this big family, I tell everyone clearly that in his heart, she has a very important position, and he didn't just get married just to deal with things. This is tantamount to telling everyone in disguise that not paying attention to her is don't take him seriously. In terms of his status in the Zhou family, can she walk sideways in the Zhou family in the future? Puh. Puh. Bah, Chu Xia secretly despises herself and compares her heart with her heart. Has she done this to him? Getting into a temper tantrum with him and thinking that he would not let her go, she felt that she and him were in a loveless marriage, and decided to respect him as a guest in the future. The more she thought about it, the more guilty she felt, and she was thinking about how not to hurt his face, and how to give Zhou's elders a step back. So Lin Yangkai said, "Mom, Chu Xia is already the daughter-in-law of the Zhou family. As a member of the family, let her know about it." The old lady Zhou turned her attention to Chu Xia. "Listen to me, if you attend the Zhou family's family meeting, your marriage with Xiaomi, you can't help but shrink back a little bit." When did she want to back down? Oh, yes, how could Mrs. Zhou fail to understand that she is not broken? Thinking about it, in Mrs. Zhou's heart, she is leaving a way out for herself, right? From everyone's attitudes, she had a premonition that the Zhou family must have encountered some difficulties. Although she is not a standard gentleman, Zhou Mikang treated her well. Light thing? She looked up at Zhou Mikang. "I am willing to attend the family meeting with you." This is equivalent to telling him clearly that no matter what happens, I am willing to bear it with you. Zhou Mikang dragged her to sit on the left side of Zhou Jingping and Lin Yangkai without saying a word. Zhou Zikang and Yu Tao sat on the right side. Zhou Jiping and Zhou Xiangping moved 2 seats back when they came over. Sitting behind them was Uncle Tuesday's family, followed by Uncle Jojo and Zhou Huikang, and sitting side by side with them were Su Zhenghong and Zhou Yueping. Just now, she had a bad fight with Zhou Mikang on the road, and she didn't pay attention when she entered the door. Now that she looked at it, she knew that something must have happened to Zhou's family. The nannies at home had retreated to their respective rooms at some point. In the whole hall, only the Zhou family was left. Chu Xia's heart was unconsciously picked up. This battle was really a bit bluffing. Explain. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 229. After dinner, when he returned to his room, the first thing Zhou Mikang said to Chu Xia was, "Lin Chuxia, if you choose to leave now, I won't blame you. I will also greet Aunt Su and let her continue to take care of you." "You? Who said I'm leaving? Chu Xia curled her lips and rolled her eyes. Could it be that in your eyes, I'm so disrespectful? Marrying you is because you value your family's power? Leaving you is because you are afraid of suffering with you. Isn't it? Zhou Mikang stared at Chu Xia expressionlessly. It's a fact that you didn't marry me voluntarily, and it's also a fact that you agreed to marry me after you put forward conditions, so I knew from the beginning to the end that you would marry me because I can bring a good life to your parents. But now, this kind of benefit may be about to end. You didn't like me in the first place. If you leave me right now, I won't blame you. Bastard. You bastard. Chu Xia jumped out of bed angrily, and punched Zhou Mikang with his fists on his chest. Things happened too suddenly. If he had gotten a little wind before that, he would never have married her. Looking at the little man in front of him who was so angry that his face was flushed, he felt a sore pain in his heart, thinking that he could protect her for the rest of his life and make her happy for the rest of his life, but now it seems that it is impossible. He knows the ruthlessness of the old man of the Xiao family better than anyone else. His hands hurt so much, he still sat there with a blank expression on his face. Without saying a word, Chu Xia had no choice but to stop the movements of his hands, frowning and looking at him. From the bottom of his seemingly calm eyes, she saw a trace of fluctuation. It turned out that he was not as calm as he appeared to be. Think about today's meeting. She also really has a clear perception of this era. The moment before. It is still a big family that is envied by thousands of people. In the next moment, it may become a hapless person who will be confined to prison. Some people will sympathize with others, and others will gloat. Fortunately, since she came here in the 21st century, although she doesn't have a special understanding of this era, she still remembers some major events. This period of time is nothing but the brief darkness before dawn. When she was engaged to Zhou Mikang, Uncle Zhou's son-in-law Xiaoyuan disrespected her, and Zhou Mikang threw her out by the collar. Since then, Xiaoyuan, his wife Zhou Yiping, and mother-in-law Lu Lingmei have never appeared in the Zhou family again, including this time when she married Zhou Mikang. Original. She thought that Zhou Yiping and others didn't come because she hated Zhou Mikang's actions and she didn't want to see them, but it was the truth. But it was far beyond her expectations. A few days ago, Lu Lingmei proposed a divorce to Zhou Shanping, and there was no room for negotiation. The eldest daughter was already married. She asked her son Zhou Huikang to be brought up by her. Zhou Shanping was naturally unwilling, and Zhou Huikang himself expressed that he would follow his father, but just today. The divorce system was actually implemented by Lu Lingmei without Zhou Shanping showing up, and put the custody of the son in his own name. When she appeared in front of Zhou Shanping with the series of documents, Zhou Shanping's surprise can be imagined. At the same time, I realized that something was wrong. The Zhou family is not an ordinary family with a non-surname, but Lu Lingmei was able to apply for a divorce certificate without him showing up, which fully demonstrated the unusualness of the matter. Before, Zhou Shanping never told Mr. Zhou that he was going to get a divorce because of the family's wedding, but now that such a big incident happened, he couldn't keep it from Mr. Zhou anymore. After Mr. Zhou came back, he found out through his own connections that Xiaoyuan's father, Xiao Binqi, had taken over the Xiao family's faction and gained absolute control. This also means that the Zhou family has lost power. Winners and losers, no matter what era, this is the same truth. This is also the reason why Mrs. Zhou didn't want Chu Xia to attend the family meeting at first. In her opinion, Chu Xia is not a member of the Zhou family. There is no need for Chu Xia to know about such a private and embarrassing thing. Of course, in her subconscious mind, she may also have the intention of letting Chu Xia get away with it. After spending the past few days together, Chu Xia's impression of her is that an old man with a hard face and a soft heart. Even if she is really for your own good, she will never say anything in this way. He will also act like, I hate you so much, stay away from me. Although no one in the Zhou family has been framed before, according to the Zhou family, the Xiao family and his son are definitely villains who must take revenge. Therefore, it is estimated that within 2 days, the incumbents of the Zhou family will be attacked and persecuted one after another. Up. Now the second generation with the best development in the Zhou family is Zhou Jingping, and the third generation is Zhou Mikang. Therefore, everyone agrees that the first to bear the brunt of the revenge should be the father and son. In particular, it was Zhou Mikang who made Xiao Yuan suffer that day, so he would never look at Zhou Mikang comfortably. Or because he was worried about thinking about Chu Xia, Mr. Zhou added that even if there was no incident of that day, the Xiao family would still target the Zhou family. The political differences between the two parties have not been a day or two. It was purely an accident that Zhou Yiping married Xiao Yuan. Of course, it was even more unexpected that the Xiao family climbed so fast. No one in the Zhou family blamed her for this incident, which made her feel very touched and moved, and it also gave her a determination to share will and woe with the Zhou family. Regardless of whether it was revenge by taking advantage of the introduction last time, anyway, the cause was due to her, and most people would probably blame her first, thinking that she was a troublesome beauty. Even Mrs. Zhou didn't criticize her from the beginning to the end, and even meant to let her leave the family so as not to be implicated. She has never lived in this era, but she has more or less contact with books, periodicals, film, and television about this era, so she can understand that the Zhou family's worries are definitely not superfluous. Some people in this era just take pleasure in pranking people. Evidence. What it is. Just like a few years ago, university professors and experts were locked up in the bullpen. Is there any reason to say it? Tomorrow, send my parents back. Chu Xia looked at Zhou Mikang seriously. I'm married to you, the wife you're married to, and in this life, I will naturally marry chickens as chickens and dogs as dogs, no matter you are the regiment leader or a soldier, or anything else. I am your wife, this is a fact, the certificate has been obtained. If you want to repent, it is too late. Fool. Zhou Mikang's stiff complexion softened a bit. Do you understand what the Zhou family is facing now? Clear. Understood that you still bumped into it. Zhou Mikang sighed, and looked at Chu Xia seriously. I'm not willing to let you go, but if it's not a last resort, I won't take this step. If I have something, as my wife, you are dangerous, Chu Xia, I don't want you to suffer any harm because of me. Listen to me, let's go to divorce tomorrow, and then I will ask Uncle Jing to take care of you, although. Zhou Mikang's eyes flashed with pain, although I don't want this very much, but he is my current partner. The only person I can think of that I can trust with confidence. To put it bluntly, I want to divorce her, and then let her marry into the Jing family. He. Chu Xia smiled angrily. You are quite good at planning for me, even finding your in-laws' family. Chu Xia. Zhou Mikang covered his face. If there is a way, I won't do it. You don't know what kind of person Xiao Yuan is. The way he looked at you that day clearly revealed his thoughts. If something happened to me, he would be the first one to attack you. He is not a gentleman like me. If it falls into his hands, Chu Xia, I dare not think about the consequences, so I would rather lose you clearly before then. This loss pains me, but there is still hope. If I knew that things would change so suddenly before, I might not treat him like that. Of course, I would feel very uncomfortable if I didn't do that, but in order not to hurt you, I can bear it. Uncle Jing is a neutral faction, and Grandpa Jing's disciples are all over the world. Even if he is the helm of the faction the Xiao family belongs to, they dare not touch him for the time being. Therefore, in such an urgent situation, the only way I can think of is to entrust you to Uncle Jing. In early summer, I believe that evil cannot prevail, but you can't afford to wait. Speaking of this, Zhou Mikang got up, hugged Chu Xia into his arms, hugged him tightly, then let go, turned around and walked out. Is this saying goodbye to her? This man is always so self-righteous. Stop. Chu Xia ran in front of him at an unprecedented speed, and stretched out his arms to stop him. You have finished speaking, and you haven't listened to me yet. Are you respecting me by leaving like this? Zhou Mikang turned his gaze to the side. Let's talk. Chu Xia pointed at the bed. You, sit over there and listen to me. Zhou Mikang stood still. It's fine here. No, Chu Xia shook his head. You asked me to marry me, and you issued the marriage certificate yourself. Now, getting a divorce is up to you. What do you think of me? If you don't want to put your life on the line here, you just listen to me, sit down obediently, and listen to me. Seeing that she didn't know when she had an extra knife in her hand, and it was pressed against her neck in a decent manner, Zhou Mikang moved his fingers, but finally he didn't take the knife from her hand by force, but sat down obediently. Bedside, okay, tell me. Chu Xia took the knife from his neck. I've said everything I need to say, there's nothing to say. Anyway, I don't agree to the divorce. As for what Xiao Yuan has in mind for me, as long as he's not afraid of death. Cough. 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 The head of the group coughed again and again after being choked by someone's big words, and after a while, he reminded him helplessly, Lin Chuxia, whether he is afraid of death or not, probably didn't scare you, please. You look at your physique first, then measure your ability, and finally decide whether to say such big words. Okay.